Jingles, hello, are you here?
Just a moment, Lazar. I'm in the bathroom washing up.
Washing up? What on earth for? Why are you washing up? Did you trip and fall in the mud on your way home from school?
No, nothing like that, Lazar. I'll be out in just a minute.
Washing up? When he's not dirty? I just don't get it. If he's not dirty, then what is he washing?
Hi, Lazar. How are you today? Did you have a good day at school?
School was school, as it always is, Jingles. We did a lot of arts and crafts. Otherwise, I'd have rather been outside. It's a beautiful day. Now tell me, why were you washing up if you hadn't gotten dirty?
Cousin Bunsen came to school today, and he was sneezing, and he was coughing. He was incredibly sick. He went to see the school nurse, and it turned out that he had come down with a nasty cold and high fever. They sent him home right away.
I'm sorry for Cousin Bunsen, but I don't see how that has anything to do with you washing just now.
Have you never heard about germs, Lazar? How they spread? How they can make us incredibly sick if we're not extremely careful about our washing habits?
I can't say as I have. I've heard of germs, but I didn't think they could live for very long outside of a person. Can they get on us, so that we have to wash when we walk through the door?
Indeed they can, Lazar, and do so much more. Good washing habits is our main defense.
How, Jingles? How can germs make us sick, as you say Cousin Bunsen has gotten?
When we've got a cold, our entire body is worn down, Lazar. Whenever we sneeze or cough, all the germs in us get on our hands when we cover our mouths, or into the air if we don't cover our mouth. Then anything or anyone we touch can get the cold germs. If those people or places don't have good wash habits, those germs will lie in wait for any chance they can get into the human body. Once in, there's very little we can do to stop them from multiplying. After a while, there are so many germs, we get like Cousin Bunsen. We cough, we sneeze, we get a fever, we just get very sick. By washing as soon as we get home, we not only get the germs off our hands, we prevent transferring them to our family members.
Wow, Jingles, I never knew any of this. Germs are really horrid things, aren't they?
Indeed they are, my friend. Look towards the view screen, Lazar. There's a movie on right now, and it talks about colds, as well as sneezes and germs. After watching this, you'll be ready to start the fight for good health in your home.
The symptoms are quite familiar, and very likely you'll come up with a correct diagnosis. Yes, it looks like a cold, a common cold. Runny nose, headache, achiness, very often a slight fever. Those are some of the symptoms of the common cold. Well, how do we get into that unhappy state? Do we have colds simply because of cold, because of ice, snow, and low temperature? No. Funny thing about colds, where it is coldest, the inhabitants hardly ever get colds. Explorers tell us that Eskimos are cold-free, unless they come in contact with visitors from outside their frozen world. Then, if it is not just cold weather, What is it that causes so many of us to catch cold? Scientists think that most colds are caused by extremely small microorganisms called viruses. Viruses, and there are many different kinds of them, can be scattered with each particle of saliva and mucus. When one sneezes or coughs, for instance. But do not think for a moment that cold-producing viruses are spread only by sneezing and coughing. If by some magic the tiny particles of saliva and mucus could be made visible as a black smudge, we quickly would realize in how many other ways we are apt to scatter bacteria and viruses all around us. For instance, Jane here has a cold. Look at that smudge. Look at those germs she leaves on the doorknob. And here's Bob's hand picking them up. Bob, his hand now covered with germs picked up from that doorknob, transfers them to a book. Sue, having the bad habit of wetting her finger to turn pages, carries the germs from the book to her mouth, and then passes them along with a pencil to Anne. Anne carries them home and leaves them on the family's dinner table. Yes, even during an ordinary conversation, saliva and mucus particles escape our mouth and easily reach others who inhale them as they breathe. Just remember how breath becomes visible on a cold day. How then, with so many germs surrounding us, can we avoid having colds all the time? Well, fortunately, our body has defenses against this enemy. Normally, we breathe through our nose. The nose, as well as the sinuses, the eustachian tubes, and the throat, are lined with a delicate membrane. If, under a microscope, you look at the lining of the nose, we call it the nasal membrane, you can see that it is covered with tiny moving threads. These are called cilia. They move back and forth like stalks of grain when a wind blows over a field. The cilia are covered with a warm, moist, sticky substance called mucus. The nose usually secretes about a quart of this liquid every 24 hours. This mucus, by warming and moistening the air we breathe in, prepares it for our lungs. The mucus also catches and destroys microorganisms, that is, bacteria and viruses. The movement of the cilia carries the mucus down to the pharynx. Then it is coughed out or swallowed into the stomach, where any remaining microorganisms are destroyed by the digestive juices. If these defenses are weakened, the cold virus will gain a foothold and cause the inflammations which so often are associated with the common cold. The common cold is not a serious sickness, but still, medical science as yet has not found a cure for it. Ah, yes, there are remedies galore, all sorts of medications, which soothe pain and headaches and so bring some relief. However, they do not cure colds. And no matter how convincingly they may be advertised, do not use them without having checked with your doctor. But there is a sound prescription. If you have a cold, don't stay in school, because if you do, you may send others home with your cold. If you have a cold, stay home. Stay in bed. This is the prescription which common sense and medical science recommend. Medicines, but only those your doctor prescribes. No others. Warmth, rest, which you can get best when you stay in bed. And while you're there, you might as well make the best of it. Right. Use tissues instead of handkerchiefs. That way you'll dispose of the germs much better than when you blow them into a handkerchief. However, should you not feel better in a couple of days, or if you keep on having a fever, you should ask your parents to call a doctor. You see, what you think is a simple cold could really be the first symptoms of some other disease, such as measles, infantile paralysis, diphtheria, whooping cough, scarlet fever, influenza, and others. However, even if your illness proves to be only a simple cold, it is still important that you take care of it. A cold which is not treated might very well back up along the mucous membrane and so invade the sinuses, the cavities in the bones of the face and the skull. Or the infection may reach the middle ears when it invades the eustachian tubes, which connect the middle ears with the throat. Frequently, the inflammation also travels down the respiratory tract to the pharynx, the larynx, and the trachea. Your throat feels sore and your voice is husky. It travels to the bronchi. You have a bad cough. And occasionally even to the lungs, and that is pneumonia. These are painful complications, and they often take a long time to clear up. The best defense against the common cold and all these other diseases is to keep up the body's natural resistance. To do so, you must eat regularly and well-balanced meals. That is, meat, vegetables, fruit, milk, and so on. Get lots of exercise and fresh air, but do not exhaust yourself. In cold weather, you must wear sensible clothing to provide proper warmth to remain healthy. Go to bed at a reasonable hour. While you grow, you need about 10 hours of sleep each night. Sleep recharges the body's energies. Protect yourself against infection. Keep pencils and other things out of your mouth. Never take bites of other people's food. Do not use somebody else's drinking straw or glass, not even within your own family. In the bathroom, for instance, use only your glass. And wash your hands frequently and thoroughly, especially before eating. When you wash your hands, you wash away many of the disease-carrying smudges you may have picked up. But if in spite of all these precautions, you still come down with a cold, let us repeat, take it to bed and stay there until it has run its course. This is the safest way to regain your health and to return as quickly as possible to work, to fun, and to play.
You see, Lazar, when at school or anywhere else, you should never chew on your pencil or pen, or put anything in your mouth. At lunch, never share anyone else's food or drink. Don't use their straw to taste anything, if offered. After using the restroom, always wash your hands. If anyone is sneezing or coughing a lot, make sure they are covering their mouths with a small cloth or tissue, and always advise them to wash their hands often, for anything they touch can leave a germ behind. As the old saying goes, cleanliness is next to godliness. It's a saying that has survived for years and years, and with good cause. With good wash habits, we stand a much better chance of avoiding sickness.
Excellent words of wisdom, Jingles. You never cease to teach me whenever something major occurs in our lives. Is it only good wash habits that help prevent the spread of illness? Or can other things be done as well?
Oh, Lazar, indeed. There are many things you can do to be healthy. What you eat is extremely important in maintaining good health. Eating a well-balanced meal 3 times a day is about as important a defense as you could mount. Eating meals which have bread, milk, vegetables, fruit, and meat well represented will keep your body strong and its natural defenses alert. By eating well, You'll remain well, too.
Fascinating, Jingles. Not only good advice, but tasty, too. I love eating all those things. I never thought that eating things I like could make me healthy.
A well-balanced diet is key to a long and healthy life. Other things you can do to avoid getting sick are simple things. Bundling up when you go outside, especially when it's cold. It's not enough to wear your boots and a thick coat. When the temperature gets really low, you need to cover your entire body, especially your head. Most body heat escapes through our heads, especially in the frigid winter. Wearing a warm hat will keep the heat in your body and help you not to get weak or ill.
Words of wisdom, Jingles. Very good words of wisdom. I do have a question, though. For people like Cousin Bunsen, what comes now? He's already sick. What should he do to get well?
Look towards the view screen once more, Lazar. The movie playing now answers that very question. Look towards the view screen and see your answer.
The guardians of our health, our doctors, nurses, teachers, and parents, are working together to keep us well. All of them must know and agree on the health practices we need at home, in the neighborhood, and at school. This is Joan, getting ready for school. Joan learned at school that it's important to choose the right clothes on a cold day. The temperature is 40, too cold for just a coat. She will need her snowsuit if she wishes to keep well for the Dutch festival. And this is Jim, Joan's brother. They choose wraps to keep all of their body warm. Mother is glad to see Jim looking so well this morning. Their color is good, their eyes alert. They're ready for work or play. Mother needs to get another supply of paper handkerchiefs. Jim's friend George is eating an apple as he waits for them. That is a wise no thank you, Joan. Never share another's food. George has forgotten something that helps keep him clean. It's lucky for George that Joan has an extra tissue to lend him. Some children learn to jump or go around puddles, but George wades right into trouble because he forgot his galoshes. This is Miss May, Joan's teacher. George and Joan are glad to be in school. The children are getting ready for their Dutch festival. Tom has brought the thermometer in so that the children can guess what the weatherman doll should wear today. A raincoat and umbrella? Oh no, a snowsuit and galoshes to keep him warm and dry. It was hard to guess today, but Tom is a good guesser. Or did Mother tell him what to wear? George, you forgot something more important than your handkerchief. You forgot to cover your sneeze, and cold germs travel on your sneeze or cough, you know. Why, cold germs can fly farther than Miss May can blow the feather. Cold germs can fly 8 feet to another child's nose, hand, or food. People who put fingers into their mouths make it easy for cold germs to come to them. No, not that way, George. Blow your nose gently, without pressing the opening of the nostrils closed. That's better. Oh, and your feet are wet. It's easy to catch cold when your body is chilly. You'd better go and see the school nurse. She'll help you. The nurse is examining Mary after her cold. 4 days at home with a cold keeps others from catching it and protects you from serious infections that follow colds.
Now, George, who sent you in here?
Miss May thought I might be catching a cold.
Well, what do you think?
I'm hot and chilly.
Well, did you sleep pretty well last night, and did you feel like getting up this morning? Did your breakfast taste good?
I hardly had time to have my breakfast. I had an apple on the way.
Now, blow your nose, George. Oh, not so hard, gently. No pressure on the opening. Now let's look at your throat. Open wide. All right, now you sit down, and I'll take her. You moisten your lips and hold this under your tongue. Oh, your feet are wet too, George. Would that go 3, 2, 1? Hello, is it Mrs. Powell there? Yes. Well, this is Miss Wright, Mrs. Powell. George came in to see me a few moments ago with a cold. Yes, his throat is quite red and his feet are wet, too. I do think he'd be more comfortable at home in bed. Well, just a minute, please. Yes, his temperature is 99.8. Well, it is best to consult your physician if it goes over 100, especially during the cold season. Oh, that would be nice of you to call for him. Yes, he'll be right here in my office. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Joan's mother visits school to plan a health program. Joan must learn to take responsibility for keeping herself well. This weather chart keeps Joan alert to weather changes as she marks snowy or rainy days. Dressing this weather doll for outdoor weather helps Joan know what to wear herself. It will be better for Mother when Joan chooses wraps to suit the temperature instead of arguing about what friends wear. Mother and teacher check Joan's health habits. They plan better health practices for home and school. At school, Joan's committee keeps the washroom attractive with soap sponges, brushes, and signs. Others keep the closets neat with boxes for rubbers and hangers for clothes. Another records the temperature and tells us when we need heat or fresh air. One group keeps large drawing pencils scrubbed ready for use.
Those are jobs Joan and Jim could be learning to do at home, too. On Saturdays, they love to help us plan what we're going to do. I'm so glad to get this health record sheet. Your check on Joan's habits at school will help me plan a corrective health program at home. I'm going to find out what kind of health practices we use, and I must check on our equipment to see if we have the materials to carry on the school practices. Thank you for some grand ideas, Miss May. I'm going to visit school again some afternoon when I call for Joan. May I?
Do come often. It is good for teachers and children to have parents visit school.
Next morning, Joan's mother is inspecting the health materials in her home. Each one in the family needs a separate towel and washcloth. Mother has one for Jim and another for Joan, each with his own name. Joan's father made a box for her to stand on. It's no fun washing if you have to stretch or can't see into the basin. And here are new cups. Each can have his own cup now. It prevents catching another's cold. Why, Jim, why are you so cross? Father has taught Joan to spit into the toilet, for spitting spreads disease. Here are the spoons for your cod liver oil, Joan. It's extra sunshine for us in winter and spring. You know, strong bodies can't always keep us from catching cold, but they help us resist a serious illness that may follow colds. Keep away from persons with colds, and keep your hands clean while you're eating. Jim must wash his hands after he pets his dog, but he won't have to go upstairs, as Father has arranged a washstand downstairs, so Jim will remember to wash. What's the trouble with Jim? He didn't like his breakfast, and he was restless as he slept. He's cross and tired this morning. His throat isn't very red, but his eyes look queer. He'd better stay home today so that Mother can watch him and keep him warm. Joan's mother can't go to the kermis now, so Joan must take the paper bags for the party. Colds are easy to catch during the first 24 hours. Mother must see that Jim covers his coughs and stays away from others. She must sterilize his dishes by boiling them thoroughly in water. Joan's room at school is a busy place, and Joan wants to help get ready for the kermis. But first, she must wash her hands. We must always wash hands clean before handling food. So, Joan takes off her coat uses plenty of soap and a good lather. She rinses her hands well and dries them thoroughly with a paper towel. In another room, the kindergarten children are getting ready for the kermesse. It's best to go to the toilet and wash hands first. Now Joan has her wraps off, her hands are clean, and she's ready to pack the bags for the kermesse. The kermesse has started. George's friends are selling the flowers they raised. They learn that flowers, like children, need plenty of sunshine, water, good food, and moderate temperature to make them grow. Joan's friends are selling cheese, and they are careful to keep the food clean. Everyone is having a good time, while poor George stays in bed. His careless habits have made Jim miss the kermesse too, and Jim is restless in bed. Now he knows it pays to avoid people with colds. But Jim's friends are enjoying the kermesse. They learn that Dutch people are clean. Hollanders leave their wooden shoes on their doorstep so that their floors are spotless. The Dutch drink milk and raise their own vegetables and flowers. They keep well. You have seen these children learning to take care of themselves. Now, do you know why George and Jim missed the kermesse?
Ah, I see. The next few days will be pretty miserable for Cousin Bunsen, won't they, Jingles? Coughing, sneezing, taking medicine, basically staying in bed all day, all night, every day and night. Is that right, Jingles?
Yes, Lazar. Unfortunately for Cousin Bunsen, who I know is a very clean bear, sometimes all the precautions in the world aren't enough. Sometimes we just get sick, not because of what we have or haven't done, but because germs are everywhere. It's impossible to avoid them all of our lives. We will get sick from time to time, just as Cousin Bunsen has now. When that happens, all we can do is stay in bed, sleep, and rest. Let our body's natural defenses cure us.
I can see now how fortunate I have been not to get sick very often in my life. My cleaning habits have been all right, but nowhere near what they need to be. I am going to start a new life, Jingles, where I, like you, prevent the spread of illness all I can.
I'm glad to hear it. If we all do our part in maintaining a clean environment, everyone around us will benefit with better health.
I'm going to start right now, Jingles. I'm going to go home and ask my mom to start making more well-balanced meals. But first, I'm going to go home and get washed up. If I do this every day after school, just as you do, it will become a habit that I no longer have to think about. Eventually, it will be part of my everyday life. I'll be doing my part and not bringing sickness into my home, and seeing that my mom and dad and sister remain healthy. I'm off to get a start on a new, better, and healthy life.
And an excellent start he is off to, for a clean life and a clean home is a healthy life, making for a happy home.